Thank you, Ellie. I feel a little bit uncomfortable seeing the lady standing. I think there is enough chairs. Would you please permit the ladies to sit down and feel a little bit more comfortable as myself? Please do it. Please be seated, ladies. Thank you. Well, I'm very glad. I think it's for the first time that the Diamond World Organization is gathering in Jerusalem. The shining stones came to a city that has their own shining stones in the way of culture and spirit, and we are very grateful for you to gather in this eternal city of Jerusalem. I want to start right away by saying that Israel right now is passing through a paradox. We have had a war. The mood is not necessarily very happy. We left Gaza. We paid a very heavy toll for dismantling the settlements. And yet, while the mood is poor, the war is costly. The dismantle of settlements in Gaza, again, called for a great price. In an unbelievable matter, the Israeli economy is flourishing like never before. We have the lowest inflation on earth, below zero. We have two things which are the lowest in the world. The inflation at the Dead Sea. Nobody can compete with us. Then growth is quite impressive, over 5%. Unemployment went down from 10.3 to 7.7. The GNP of Israel, unbelievably, grew in 3 years by 40%. 3 years ago, the GNP of Israel was $100 billion a year. Today it's $140 billion a year. The exports exceeds the imports. And people are asking, how did you do it? Our government, which is a brave government, the minute we are being asked the question, we answer very simply, you have a brilliant government. But when we say it, I'm not sure that the people are convinced. Some of them are even smiling and laughing. And we are embarrassed, we don't know what to do. And to be honest, I'm not sure that we are really the sole responsibility for this miracle. What I believe we really have is a brilliant people. I know the leaders would like that everybody in the country will say what a brilliant leadership you have. I would recommend to the leaders to say what a brilliant people you have. Maybe it tells a greater truth than the first claim. What happened really in this country is that a group maybe of the size of 15,000, of 20,000 youngsters took in their hands the global economy, manners, high technology, and they are making the country grow and grow and grow endlessly. And this leads me to explain a little bit in a wider way what is happening in our age, and why did it happen here and why can it happen elsewhere. The world, I know many people are concerned, people say it's chaotic. A war in Iraq, troubles all over the places, Somalia and Sudan and Algeria and Afghanistan and Pakistan, wherever we move around. I'm not sure that this is the story. I think the world is not chaotic. The world is pregnant with a new age. And you have all the pains and promises of giving birth to a new child in our experience. It was said already that the Stone Age is over, not because we don't have any more stones. We don't have any more age. The age has changed dramatically the minute. Our life and prosperity does not depend basically on the land, on cultivating the land, on natural resources, but rather on science and technology. When our lives were dependent upon the land, we have had to divide the land mark borders, defend them, create armies to go to war in order to make sure that they're in our hands. And actually the history of the world was written with threading wars and wars and wars and wars, not because our forefathers or foremothers were vicious people, but they have to defend the source of their life. No more. The minute we depend upon science and technology, what is the sense of having armies and fight? Armies cannot conquer wisdom, nor can they prevent the march of knowledge. If a man passes through the custom, they can check his valise. They cannot check his mind. The world is open and free. The borders became irrelevant. And the new force of our life is no longer strategies or diplomacies, but really the new economy, the economy of science and technology. What has changed China wasn't that some tanks invaded China. What has changed India, the two largest populated countries on earth, wasn't an arrival of a group of wise diplomats, but again, the adaptation of ecology, of science, of technology that makes us free and open. As a matter of fact, we have the old institutions of governments, but they don't control the economy. We have a new economy that doesn't have a government. You know, modern governments are in fact old institutions. They have budgets, they don't have money. On the other hand, the global economy has money. They don't have governments. Actually, governments are based on force. They can legislate laws. They have armies. They have police. They can force the people to do many things. And yet, they control very little. Their effectiveness is becoming more and more irrelevant to our lives. On the other hand, global economy, I don't call it exactly private economy. It's rather non-governmental economy, not necessarily private, doesn't have neither laws, nor armies, nor police, but they have something more important. The strength, if not the power, of goodwill. Wherever they move, wherever you want to build a new branch, you need the consent of the people. You have to show sensitivity to the persons, to bring in account the specification of every country, and you have to the two governing bodies. One, an economy based on free will, and the other, governments continuing to run an age that doesn't exist anymore, almost irrelevant. So really, you know, the world produces something like $50 or $55 trillion a year. Every morning, $1.5 trillion are changing hands. No government has any effect upon the lending of the capital at any place. And entirely new rules, new norms, and new choices are deciding where the money will go. But the interesting phenomena is not only that the economy became global, it is also at the same time became individual. Never in history could a single person create an economic empire or an empire of any source by the sheer capacity to invent, to renovate, to change. Whatever we have accumulated is losing its values. Whatever we are discovering are the values of the future, the promise. And you look around and you are amazed. Compare, for example, Bill Gates with Henry Ford. For Henry Ford, in order to build an industry, he has to use force, some unpleasant, even vicious. What can you say against Bill Gates? Did he harm anybody? Did he hurt anybody? He employs 20,000 people. Each of them is making $1 million a year. And to the best of my knowledge, millionaires don't go on strike. They even don't have trade unions. I don't know why. And take two young boys who came from Russia to the United States, the Google company. Look what they did. They hurt anybody? They exploit anybody? They were vicious or malicious? No. And look what a single man can do. Or two persons or three persons. Unbelievable. On the one hand, we became global without borders. On the other hand, we became human without limitations. Not only the borders lost their importance, but also the differences are disappearing. Let's tell the truth, we have had our own prejudices. We thought there are white men who are superior and black men who are inferior and yellow men that we didn't know to place. What can you say today? I visited the United States for the first time 50 years ago. Then the largest, greatest problem in America was the relations between black and white. 50 years later, I have a look at the United States, and what do I see? The ultimate mentor of literature in America is a black lady, Oprah. She decides which is a good book and which is a bad book. I would never dream 50 years ago that this will happen. The Secretary of the State is a black lady. Number two. Look what happened. So what is black and what is white? What does it matter the origin of a man or the stature of him? Everybody is invited. And for that reason I'm telling our children, don't study history, forget it. I'm not talking about cultural history because wisdom never ages. I'm talking about the events of history. What is it important? How many people did Napoleon kill? Or who is today interested? What was the nose that Cleopatra has had? Today you can go to a doctor and invite any nose you want. You don't have to go to war. And if you want really to remember, because it's fascinating stories, you have a machine that can remember. Put it on the computer. The computer will remember instead of you. Don't bother the children with memories. By the way, the computer will remember better than most of us, because what we call to remember is actually to forget. We remember only nice things. The bad things we forget. Let the computer remember the bad and the nice things and the good things, and leave our energies, our intellectual energies, not to remember and not to repeat, but to dream, to look what's new, what can be changed, what can we innovate, which star are we going to recover, which lost corner can we uncover. Let's search for new potentials. And I'm telling these children, don't listen to your parents, don't listen to your teachers, don't pay attention to your friends. All of them are oppressing you. The mothers and the fathers say you don't eat nicely, you don't walk lightly. All the time they have remarks. And the teacher doesn't give you good marks. And your friends are criticizing you. Let them develop the tremendous potential which is invested in the life of every woman and every man. Let them go free. Because the single person today can create a globe. Not only the globus, and created an opportunity for every individual, but the other way around is also true. And instead, encourage him. Let him develop his personality. Let him be charismatic. Let him be daring. Let him have vision. Let him believe there is no limit to what he can achieve, because this is the truth. So in a way, every man is a diamond, if you want. And even if you buy diamonds only for the ladies, even men can achieve their own diamonds, not on the finger, but in the heart. It's a fascinating age. I know there is still terror. Terror is not a message. It is a protest against modernity. And the terrorists want to destroy everything which is modern and to kill everybody which is modern, because they're afraid it will downrate their tradition. But the tradition, they cannot live in their tradition. Tradition is land, and the importance of agriculture went down from 50% to under 2%. Tradition is the discrimination of women. And whoever discriminates women, discriminate the children. If a woman is not having her chance to be properly educated and to prefer to invest much in less children than little in more children, they destroy the childhood of their children. Let them be full members. Let them contribute. Let them not be under the whims of the men, of the rulers, of the church, of the prejudices. So sooner or later, it will arrive at every place, and we shall have a better world. We shall suffer a little bit. It will be costly. But the world has changed considerably, though our mind is still anchored in the old shores, in the prejudices of visions which lost their temper or their importance. I know that in your industry too, single person can do a lot. I know that in your industry too, you are developing electronics and machines to replace the travail of human work. And it's fascinating. I know there are some complaints that you exploit Africa because you take away the stones and you use the labor. I don't think this is the case. I think Africa has to relieve herself from the other maladies, and then diamonds will be an asset, not a problem. And it can happen. I see even Africa changing. I saw that the Chinese are arriving now in Africa. The Chinese leadership declared the new ideology of harmony, to harmonize the relations between man and man, between state and state, between people and nature. And now they're harmonizing Africa. I hope it will help. And Americans are coming with their philanthropy. And I believe that this continent too will regain its lost honor and its lost hope and become a part of a modern age. And finally, I think we shall overcome the others. You are in a Jewish state, and they tell you what is to be Jewish, to be permanently dissatisfied with the situation. A Jewish person is never happy unless he's unhappy. And our product is to produce unhappiness. So we shall not be satisfied with what we have, but always in search of new horizons and new challenges. In the French encyclopedia, the Jewish people are described as a people that didn't let the world fall asleep. We didn't let the world fall asleep. Neither do we have but a sleepless night. We don't sleep, we don't let others to sleep. But while being dissatisfied, we are also great believers that you can make mankind, a single person, and the whole world a happier lot, full of challenges and full of hope. Well, I think diamonds, in a way, represents this hope. Thank you.